Hello, welcome to this Saturday afternoon. We are doing a special edition of Drunken Baking. So we are making a caramel pear pie. If you like apple pie, this is right up your alley. It's a really good recipe to use if you don't have any apples and all you have is pears. My mistake is I already made the pie with my son and stuck it in the oven. So I decided to do a lemon key lime, lime key lime cheesecake pie today. So what we are going to do is we are going to get that stuff set up for our key lime pie cheesecake. Oh, cheesecake, there we go. Okay, so once we get there, yes, quiet, there you go, there you go. Hi, okay. So we're gonna do a key lime cheesecake today in our baking edition. And once I get everything set up, we'll start going through the processes to make our cheesecake. I've done this before, it turns out delicious. And cooking is my thing, but baking is my actual passion. Love baking. Baker's my last name, for Christ's sakes. Come on. Oh, sorry. I hope I didn't offend anybody saying Christ's sakes. I just said it again. Fuck it. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Vulgarity Saturday. We will get to this when we start. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Drunken Cooking, special edition of Drunken Baking. So today's drinking is brought to you by Johnny Double Black with a chaser of some pop. So we are going to be making some key lime pie cheesecake. I've made this recipe once before. Very delicious. And I brought it to work and everybody loved it that had a piece. And that is the key. The key to good baking, okay, is that you bring just enough for half of the people, so that way they rave about it, so that way the next time you bring something, everybody fights for your shit. It's a thing that I learned out of the blue, and it just happens to work. So you bring just enough for half the people to say that it's really, really good, and then the other half go, man, that was really good. And the next time you bring in something for work or for people and they've never had your baking, but everybody raved about it last time, they fight for it and it's awesome. So anyway, we are going to be doing key lime cheesecake. And I have my limes over here. Ingredients, key limes. I have about 6 here, decent sized ones. Usually key limes are a little bit smaller. They're a little bit tartar than your regular limes. You can use regular lime. The difference between the key limes and the regular limes is the key limes are a little bit smaller and you need more of them, but the regular limes work just as well. Cheesecake, you need cream cheese. There was one point in my life where my cousin said, I hate cheesecake. Isaac, this is out to you. He says, cheesecake's gross. We said, why is cheesecake gross? You've never had cheesecake? He says, yeah, but why would you stick cheddar in there? It took us a minute just to go, you know you don't stick real cheddar cheese in there, you use cream cheese, right? And it kind of took him a minute to kind of get a hold of this concept, which blew our minds. He was like 13, 14 at the time, so we'll give it to him. So anyway, from there, graham crackers. We're going to go with a graham cracker crust. You can do vanilla wafers. I've done vanilla wafers once before. It's okay. Graham cracker crust is usually the best way to go, in my opinion. You can do the graham cracker cinnamon. I would steer away from that because it kind of gives your crust a little bit of a weird taste in the sense of it makes it more brittle, so you have to add more butter. You can use it, but I would suggest using more butter in the mix when you set your crust. That's just my opinion. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people that go, no, don't do that. But that's my opinion, the things that I've come up against as far as cooking with the cinnamon graham crackers. Also, if you have a good oven, that makes a difference. My oven is crap. I want to get a better oven, but that'll come later in the future. Also, I am not making a full-out cheesecake in a spring-form pan, which is something that looks like this. All right, spring-form pan lets the cake break actually away, because even though a cheesecake is considered a cake because it does not have a crust, that's what it's called, cheesecake, not a cheese pie, is a spring-form pan. Spring-form, so that way you can actually break the outer edge away from the crust, which allows you to get the cheesecake out. I'm going to be using a muffin pan to make individual cheesecakes, so that way people can share them in this corona crisis individually and not have to worry about other people coughing on or touching a slice of cake or cheesecake that they wanted, blah 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 blah. It is what it is. So I'm going to put it in here, which is actually going to make it really difficult because I got to line each one with the graham cracker crust, and hopefully the cheesecake comes out without it breaking.
If that's the case, then just stick some tinfoil or parchment paper in it, and then you can grab the edges of it and pull it out.
I wish it would work like that, Clive, but it does not actually work like that. Reason being is because if you use the tin foil in here, in the foil, now this right here is a pan where it's a non-stick bake, so that way they should come out pretty clean. The problem is that I'd have to butter each hole, which I'm probably going to do, so that way the cheesecake actually releases it. Now, you also have two different types of cheesecake. You have a New York style, which you put eggs in, and that way you actually have to bake it, and the eggs set your cheesecake. And then you have the non-baking cheesecake, which you use gelatin to set your cheesecake. Your New York cheesecakes, which a lot of people like because it's that nice, dense cheesecake that when you stick it in with a knife, you ever want to cut it with a steak knife to kind of cut through it. It's just that rich, nice cheesiness with cream cheese, Isaac. That is a New York cheesecake. Then you have your fluffy style, the ones that you add in and you fold and you make them really fluffy, so your knife and your fork just glide right through it to the bottom. That is a different style of cheesecake. That is your non-baking cheesecakes. That's when you use gelatin to set your mold, to set your cheesecake. They're a little bit more difficult because they have a longer set time in the fridge rather than baking in your oven and then setting. So you have two different types of cheesecakes that you can really maximize what you want. And this particular, I'm going to do a non-baking cheesecake. So I'm going to be using non-flavored gelatin. You can get it at your grocery store. You don't have to buy vanilla jello to, set a vanilla cheesecake. It's not like that. You can buy unflavored gelatin. You put that in your mold so that way when it freezes, you can actually pull them out. You could also let me think here. Drunk brain working. Tick, 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 tick. Cupcake fillers. The little, thingies you unwrap your cupcakes. What are those things? Cupcake cups? Sure. That you put in your cupcake holes. You can put those in there and then put each one of your graham cracker crust, put your filling in, put your stuff in there, set it in your freezer, let it set, and then you could be good to go. You could do it that way. You could also bake it. I'm going to try to go with the no bake option because right now I already have a pie in the oven, which I was going to do for a drunken baking, but my mind kind of slipped it. So we're going to do cheesecake instead. I'm kind of rambling on, and that's fine because I can edit stuff. But if I don't, I apologize for the rambling. So, as of now, we are going to have a graham cracker crust. We will probably smash up, in which we will get into further. We will smash up probably a package and a half, of graham crackers. You put melted butter in there, and you get everything set. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. So for now, I will come back to you when we are done. Welcome back to this
I did it on purpose.
special issue of Drunken Baking. So we are coming back to the key lime pie cheesecake. So I bought some grams, crushed them up, and I put about a half a stick of butter in there, melted. And then we're gonna mix that in until the crust comes together and we are able to form our crust. At first, it does not seem like the 3 or 4 tablespoons of butter is not a lot. It doesn't seem like it's enough, but it is plenty. As you start to work it in, it'll be fine. So you just kind of use the fork and you kind of go around the edges and start to mix it in. If you feel like it doesn't, it's not enough, you can add more, but I do not suggest it. It will come together with the 3 to 4 tablespoons of melted butter. So as you kind of mix around, I kind of spin it as I mix in so that way I crush what big pieces are left while mixing in the butter. And once it kind of mixes in, you will see the different color from when you started to when you have the butter mixed in quite well. Now once you get to this point, kind of looks a little bit darker, but
more crumb.
when this part comes into play. So normally what I'll do,
Wow. Let me call me.
so I like to use either a cup or a half a cup to form my crust. So you kind of start in the middle. If you have one that you can bend a little bit like I do, you can kind of start here. Now, I like using this because it has a nice flat bottom. Butter kind of keeps it from sticking to it. And you can kind of smooth it out and you kind of press into the edge as you go around. It's kind of hard to see. Let's see if I can kind of grab this here. All right. So from here, and then as you kind of go, you can kind of crush it into the edge. Kind of bad angle here.
The white glass or the shiny one.
I think it.
Kind of maybe get a top view here. Hold on a second. And there it is. Okay, so top view. So I usually use the cup because that gets a nice smooth base into it.
Why?
And then you can actually kind of
Turn the
form
water out.
this in. Now I see how it's kind of thin over here, but thick really over here. You can always push it up to kind of make it look even. So once you get to that point, your butter will set. I will, like I said, I'm going to do a no-bake cheesecake.
It
So,
requires some baking of the crust, though, right?
huh?
Does that require baking of the crust? I don't know, bake.
I don't know. Does it?
I don't know. That's why I was actually asking you.
Oh, well,
Because then I was going to say,
you
how do they
was-
call it a no bake if you actually have to bake the crust
I thought you were just
to set
going
it?
to be a
I was
smart
not
ass.
being a smart ass.
Okay.
If I was, I would have given you that funny little. I'm so smart.
And a no bake, you can either do one of two. You can bake your crust, or you can leave it alone because the freezing process will be fine too. Now, in the no bakes, I would suggest using more butter in your crumb or your crust, so that way when you freeze it,
Holds together better.
it holds together better. Like this one right here is like falling apart and it's really starting to kind of irritate me. Like really, really bad.
I thought you were just supposed to smash it down. You don't need to have crust on the side.
Well, not with the no bakes. You still have crust on the side. But
Just go and build a no bake. You
Now
just bake it. Put some egg in it.
no. No.
Some vanilla.
No.
Some
No.
mascarpone.
So from here, I got my crust. So I'm going to stick this in the freezer
Blueberries.
until my filling is done, and then when I put my filling in, we'll stick it back in the freezer and we chill it for 3 to 4, 9, 10 hours. I think most of them call for 8 hours in the freezer, but you can get away with 4 if you're going to eat it the same day. but we have pie for tonight, so I don't think we'll probably be eating cheesecake until tomorrow.
8 hours.
So for the most part, I got my crust done. I'm gonna stick that in there in the freezer, and then I'm gonna start on my filling. So I'm gonna come back. All right, welcome back to a special episode of Drunken Baking. So we already got the crust that's up in the freezer. I have 2 packages of cream cheese. You can use Philadelphia cream cheese or just regular cream cheese. There's Myers brand. Cream cheese is cream cheese. Yes, there is a little bit of texture difference with the others, but I actually kind of prefer the Myers cream cheese a little bit better just because it gets to room temperature a little bit quicker for some reason, and it's not as sweet. I don't think they put as much sugar in it, and I put sugar in stuff, but I try to refrain from over sugaring stuff.
Heck yeah.
I have unflavored gelatin.
Can't read it. You move too fast.
I'm sorry, I already showed them before, but it's all good. Okay, so for the gelatin part of this is what is gonna make this gelatin or make it set in the crust. I have a cup of lime juice. This is why we're making key lime pie. If you're not gonna do a key lime, or if you're just gonna do straight cheesecake, no bake, you can use water. Just boil water, follow the package. There's actually a recipe that on the back of the unflavored gelatin to make a cheesecake. I've used it before, it turns out really good. It's actually what I'm using now. And instead of using the cup of water to make it, I'm using lime juice. And that's what I did before, and it turned out really good.
Yeah, take the time to do that. Either that, lime, or lemon. Lemon's good
You
too.
can do both. So right now, this recipe here, you can always follow it on the back right here. It's the Knox gelatin, unflavored. It's on the back. I have a half a cup of sugar in here, and the gelatin in here, and then I brought the lime juice to a boil, and you stir it until it dissolves, and then we're gonna put it in the fridge until it starts to kind of get somewhat set.
Do you mix it with the...
Not while it's hot.
Okay.
So you stick it in the fridge, it'll start to cool down. It takes about half an hour to do that, to where it's cool enough to mix in your cream cheese, so that way it doesn't like turn your cream cheese runny. You don't want it runny. Once you get done with that and it's set up enough, we'll fold it into our cream cheese, which I actually have cream cheese in here, but I also zested it with lime. See the little green chunks in there? That's lime. And then also, when I juice my own lime, I save the pulp here, and I will squeeze that out, and I'll actually put that in the meringue that I'll make on the top, or the whipped heavy cream. And so once we get there, right now I got everything, yeah, that's pretty well mixed in. So we're gonna let this set. We're gonna get this to the gelatin state, so that way it's cool enough to where we can mix in there. And when I mix it, some people will use a stand mixer. Some people mix it by hand. Some people mix it with a electric mixer. I will probably be using electric mixer because I want a lot of air in there, because I want to make it fluffy. If you use just your regular hand mixer, it's going to be dense. I feel like if you use a stand mixer, you're going to be wasting a lot, because you're going to have to scrape a lot out of the bowl. Jen. Anyway.
Hey,
So
you know what?
I'm going to be using the electric mixer, so that
You're
way I can
necessarily
beat a lot of air into it, so that way I make it nice and fluffy, and it should just run out, and then we'll put it in the freezer for 8 hours, and then we'll go from there.
Is the gelatin stuff, is that like granulated, kind of like whatever I'm
It's
thinking,
not
like Jell-O?
sheets. No, it
No.
is Jell-O.
Okay, no, that's kind of what I was asking. If it's like that fine granulated Jell-O
Yes,
stuff.
yeah.
So the way you can test or look to see if that's all dissolved, put it in a glass bowl, and then look at the bottom. If the bottom still has grains and stuff on it,
I mean, it's kind of hard to see. Like, if you actually look right
well, because that's the lime
here,
juice and stuff like that.
there's actually some right there that is not really mixed in, but you'll see it.
Unless
You'll
you're
see
like me, blind as a bat. But okay, we're good.
Yeah, I think we're good. We'll come back when we start to mix everything together and pour it into the shell. And then actually I probably won't do the rest of the video until tomorrow once it gets out the freezer. So we'll do that, and then we'll make up the cream that day too, and then we'll put it on top, and we'll take some pictures and show you how it's done.
Yay. Goodbye.
Okay, so welcome back to Drunken. Drunken Baking. I'm about ready to start mixing my
You know
stuff
I'm funny.
for
Please stop it. What?
the cheesecake mix that actually goes into the crust. So this right here is the no bake version, which has gelatin in there. It looks kind of. I'm gonna start spinning this until it comes together really nice, creamy like, and then we will dump it into the crust, and then we will put it in the freezer for 6 to 10 hours until it sets. Now, like I said in the last video, I'm using electric mixer because that way I want to try to beat a lot of air into it, so that way it makes it nice and fluffy. So in the last one, it was kind of like clumpy, but as you mix, it starts to kind of smooth out a little bit. So just stick it on high for a second and try to beat a lot of that air in there to make it nice and fluffy. All right, so we have a crust. This was up in the freezer for about an hour. Got my mix here. I'm gonna pour this into the crust.
He's the world's biggest weirdo.
And I don't have a spatula to scrape this off. But once I scrape it off, I'll put it back in the freezer and I will cover it with some saran wrap so that way it doesn't get all gross and crazy. And then we will take pictures of when it's done. Okay, welcome back to the episode of Drunken Baking. We let the cheesecake chill in the freezer for about 12 hours. It's firmed up really nice. Now we're going to take it out of the springform pan. Just release this nice and easy. Go nice and slow. Don't rush it. So, there's some nice crust there. Oop, man down, man down. We got some right there. So, got some issue, but not too bad, not too bad. Should have put more butter in the crust to kind of firm this up a little bit more. I don't have heavy cream up top. Usually I make that with, you make gelatin, unflavored. You dissolve it in warm water, and then you put it, whip it into your heavy cream. So that way when you put it up top, it doesn't melt and just kind of fold all over the place. It'll actually stay gelatin. It'll actually stay in place. But that's my key lime pie.